Chapter 6. Marooned. Being marooned on the Goodwin Sands in the middle of the English Channel is enough to frighten you, and the Pott family, and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, except they're all fast asleep, dozing in the sun, out of your and their wits. To make matters worse, one of those summer mists came creeping across the sea, hiding the family in their magical car from the Goodwin lightship, which lies anchored somewhere south of the Goodwins. To warn them and all shipping of the terrible danger of the sands, the lightship began sounding its great foghorn, which is one of the loudest in the world, and blinking its dazzling white danger light. It was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang who first woke up to the danger. You see, she had got very hot flying out to the sands and sitting in the sunshine, and as the sea came creeping up, glugging in the hulls of the wrecks and whispering softly over the flat sand, the water gradually submerged the wheels of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. When it reached the bottom of her radiator, she let out a loud, warning hiss from the hot metal. The family opened dorsey eyes, and then at once they were all on their feet, and Commander Pott was running to the car. He jumped in and pressed the self-starter, and with a quick chitty chitty bang bang of relief, the big car, spinning her wheels in the wet sands that spray flew, crept up out of the incoming tide and was steered by Commander Pott up onto the dry centre of the rapidly diminishing sandbank, where the rest of the family was waiting. "Quick, jump in," he shouted. "We've just got room to take off." But as Jeremy and Jemima piled into the back seats and Mimsy got into the front, already the first little waves had run up the flat sands after them, and the bottoms of the tyres were awash again. "My goodness," said Commander Pott anxiously. "Now we've had it. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang can never get up enough speed to take off through the water. The only hope is that the lightship will realise the trouble we're in and send their rescue boat for us. But that'll mean leaving poor Chitty Chitty Bang Bang marooned out here alone, and she'll gradually be covered by the sea. During the night, she may easily be washed off the sands into deep water, and we'll lose her forever." They all sat there gloomily as the water glugged around them, and the fog thickened, and there was no sign of a rescue boat. They suddenly realised that they might all be drowned out here in the middle of the English Channel. And all this while, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's engine had been running steadily on, but very soon, any minute now, the level of the sea would be up to her electric generator. There would be the blinding blue flash of a short circuit, and the engine would go dead. Suddenly, amongst the many dials and buttons and levers on the dashboard, a violet light began to blink urgently, showing the words, "Turn the knob." And quickly, although Commander Pott didn't know the secret of every one of the row upon row of gadgets on the dashboard, he turned the knob under the violet light, and from underneath the car there came the soft grinding of cogwheels and a curious lifting and shifting of the chassis, so that the whole family peered out over the sides to see what was happening. And you know what? I bet you can't guess. All four wheels, pointing fore and aft as all car wheels do, had turned and now flattened out like a hovercraft. Being an inventor, Commander Pott realised that what this meant and what the result would be, so he pressed slowly on the accelerator, and, just as the waves came up level with the floorboards, all four wheels began to turn like propellers. There was a jerk, and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang began to move through the water, just like a motorboat, with the four wheels whizzing round and round, propelling her forward. Well, that was all very fine, but she was a very heavy car with four people in her, and the only way to keep from sinking was to go so fast they were almost skimming over the surface. So Commander Pott trod the accelerator into the floorboards. There was a great whirl of spray from the four wheels, and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang fairly sped across the surface of the sea, kicking up a big bow wave like a speedboat. Commander Pott had quite a tricky time dodging the masts of the sunken wrecks on the Goodwin Sands, weaving in and out of the tall, rusty iron spikes, as if they were involved in some kind of watery maze, but a dangerous one. Because if Commander Pott hadn't whirled the wheel this way and that, they would have ended up just as another Goodwin wreck. The fog swirled around them. The foghorn from the lightship gave its huge double hoot every 2 minutes, and it really was pretty dangerous and spooky. To tell the truth, Mimsy and Jeremy and Jemima held their breath and clutched tight to the armrests, expecting any moment to hear a grinding crash and find themselves swimming for dear life. But somehow Commander Pott and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang between them managed to dodge all the obstacles, and soon they were in the clear water and swooshing along through the fog. They had all let out a great poof of relief when Jeremy, who'd got a good bump of locality, said, "But Daddy, are we pointing the wrong way? There's the hoot of the Goodwin lightship Foghorn coming from down on the right. Oughtn't we sail towards her and then on past her towards Dover?" Commander Pott said sternly, "You mustn't say down on the right. We're all sailors now. You must say to starboard. That's naval language for right. And at sea, left is port." He twirled the wheel to the left so that Chitty Chitty Bang Bang swirled to the left. "Now we're going to port." He turned the wheel to the right. "Now we're going to starboard. Quite easy to remember. Port and left, both have fewer letters in them than right and starboard. Got it?" "Well, yes," said Jeremy. "That sounds easy. But still, Daddy, whichever way you're going, to port or starboard, I bet you're going the wrong way. Away from England, I mean." At this, Commander Caractus Pott put on his secret face, the face he wore around Christmas time when Jeremy and Jemima asked if they were going to get what they asked Father Christmas for, and the face he put on when, for instance, he was preparing the Easter egg hunt. All of them, Mimsy and Jeremy and Jemima, recognised their father's secret face and waited excitedly for what was to come as Chitty Chitty Bang Bang sped on through the fog, throwing up fountains of spray from her whirling wheels, while the sound of the Goodwin lightship's foghorn got farther and farther away. "Well," said Commander Pott in his surprise voice, he also had a particular voice for springing surprises with, "it's the holidays, isn't it?" "Yes," they chorused. "So we'd all like a holiday adventure, right?" "Yes," they said breathlessly. "Well," said Commander Pott, "Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is going like smoke. The Channel's as flat as a mill pond. We've got plenty of petrol, and the oil pressure's fine. The engine temperature's all right, and the fog will lift the farther we get away from land. It can't be more than about 25 miles now to the other side of the Channel. We're doing about 30 knots, and a naval knot is 1.15 miles per hour, which gives a speed of about 35 miles per hour. So the whole trip should take less than an hour. And as it's only just 5 o'clock now," he paused for breath, "and as we've never been abroad, I thought it'd be rather fun to go to France. Ha ha!" "Good heavens," said Mimsy. "Gosh," said Jemima. "My hat," said Jeremy. And for a moment they all sat thinking about this colossal adventure. And then Mimsy said, "But we haven't got any passports." And Jeremy said, "But don't they have different money in France? Francs, they're called. What about francs?" And Jemima said, "What about the language? I've only learnt oui, which means yes, and non, which means no. That's not going to get me very far." Commander Pott said firmly, "That's no way to treat adventures. Never say no to adventures. Always say yes. Otherwise you'll lead a very dull life. Now then, passports. We'll make for Calais, which is dead ahead, and go to the British consul, who represents all English people, from the Queen down, and we'll get provisional passports. Money, we've got pounds, and we'll change them into francs. Language, well, Mimsy and I both talk French a bit, and if we can't make ourselves understood, we'll find someone who talks English. More people in the world talk English than any other language, and we'll soon find someone. Right? Then that's settled. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's going to take us right across the English Channel to France. Now then, we'll turn on the radio and get the weather report for ships, and we'll steer a bit more towards the north, as there's quite a current running down the Channel, and we don't want to be swept along with it, and suddenly find ourselves in Portugal, or even in Africa." He chuckled. "Do we?" And all together, and very loud and definitely, they said, "No, we don't!" So Commander Pott fiddled with the dials on the radio, and out came the familiar voice they had never bothered to listen to before. But now it was very important indeed. It said, "And this is the shipping forecast. North Sea and English Channel, dead calm. Patches of fog near the English coast. Further outlook, unchanged." Commander Pott switched off the radio. "Well, that's all right, but now we've got to keep our eyes and ears open. The English Channel's always crowded with shipping sailing up and down from London, which is the biggest port in the world, and from Belgium and Holland and Denmark and Sweden and Norway, even from Russia, on its way to and from Africa and India and America, and even as far away as China and Japan. Ships of every nationality use the English Channel, and we'd better watch out or we run down. Yes." And even as he spoke, they heard the giant beat of the engine of a big ship approaching, and Commander Pott quickly sounded the klaxon as a foghorn, and it said, "Gauga!" "Ga-ooga!" to warn the big ship. Back out of the fog came a series of huge maws, just like the noise a vast iron cow might make, and through the fog, coming straight at them, were the bows of a gigantic white liner. Well, all I can say is that she missed them by a cat's whisker, and they had just had a glimpse of lines of passengers 100 feet above them, staring down in astonishment at the sight of a green motor car using its wheels as sideways like propellers in the middle of the English Channel. Then the huge stern disappeared into the fog, leaving them pitching and tossing in the choppy wake. "Phew!" they all said, more or less together. "That was a narrow squeak." And Commander Pott added, rather unfairly the others thought, "Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, for heaven's sake, keep your eyes open and watch where you're going." This gave him an idea, and he switched the fog lights on and kept on making frequent ga-oogas on the coxswain. Well, they heard many more ships passing in both directions, up and down channel, and once the periscope of a submarine came shooting up out of the depths to have a look at them, and then quickly slid down under water again. They imagined word being passed around among the 80 or 90 men of the crew. Yes, big submarines carry as many crew as that. "Stone the crows, there's a perishing motor car overhead." And then suddenly the fog cleared and they were out in the sunshine with the big white cliffs of France showing up on the horizon. And they all let out a cheer that quite surprised the crew of a Dutch schuit, a kind of small barge you see a lot in the Channel, though when it's at home it pronounces itself scoot, that happened to be passing. The Dutch crew let out a big hurrah too as they gazed in amazement at Chitty Chitty Bang Bang whizzing across the surface of the calm sea. They sped happily on, getting nearer to France, and Commander Pott said it was now time to steer north so that they could arrive in the harbour of Calais. But this was easier said than done. The strong current kept drifting them southwards, and every time Commander Pott turned the wheel to steer north, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang had to slow down because her wheels couldn't go round and round like propellers and change direction at the same time. Commander Pott, and in fact all of them, began to get quite worried because there was no doubt they were going to land on the shingle at the base of the gigantic French chalk cliffs that are just as high and steep as the ones on the English shores near Dover. Sure enough, the water got shallower and shallower until they touched the shingle and the violet light on the dashboard blinked urgently and said, "Turn the knob." When Commander Pott turned the knob, there came the same purr of machinery under the chassis, and the wheels straightened out and clicked back into the straightforward position, and they bumped and churned their way up onto the shingle. Of course, everyone was very glad to be on dry land again, but nothing could alter the fact that they were stuck at the bottom of giant cliffs that soared up above them towards the sky, and the tide was still coming in, and it was 6:30, and there could only be about 3 more hours of daylight. It really looked as if the whole family and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang were on the most dreadful and dangerous situation.